Welcome to Convos with Randos, where we have conversations with random people. What's your name?
I'm Dominick Wilson.
Well, thank you for coming on Convos with Randos. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to come on here.
So before we begin, can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah. So again, I'm Dominick, and basically what I'm on here to talk about is what I do is I started a company called YoungCap, and YoungCap essentially is a platform for younger entrepreneurs. That's my niche, basically. And basically what I do is I reach out to successful entrepreneurs, successful capitalists, higher ups of different companies, and I interview them in a podcast format similar to what you do. But I upload that content to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, soon to become Spotify Podcasts, but also to my website. And the plan behind it all was to basically help young entrepreneurs get started and not make the same mistakes that, these successful entrepreneurs have already made. They've already made it to the top. So I figured, if I can go and get help from them and bring that help to other younger entrepreneurs getting started, that they can follow in the footsteps and not make the same mistakes that they may or may not have made, and reach that same level of success faster.
That's really cool. Could you share a little bit about what some of these mistakes were that you were talking about?
Yeah. So just recently I interviewed Mike Waters. He's the owner of Phase One Sports here in Las Vegas. And a big thing that he was saying is, when he was younger, he had a passion for football, and I think that problems you run into or mistakes may not even always be physical mistakes. It can be something or an occurrence that can happen. And he was a prime example of that. He tore his ACL in high school, and he had to walk away from football. And he still sports, but he wanted to find a way to incorporate it. And that's what he did. He started training other football players, and he went around for years putting cardboard signs literally with, "Hey, come train with me," with his number on it, on people's cars at football games and things to that sort. So just things like that, that you run into. He's also ran into problems where trying to get buildings and being turned away from offers and that because running into financial trouble. Those are just some examples of them. But I think any entrepreneur going down the entrepreneurial journey is bound to run into some problems. It's all a risk, and nothing's really guaranteed. So it's about, successful entrepreneurs, they all at some point encounter some form of adversity, and the reason they're successful is them overcoming that adversity. So that would be problems that I think that I'm trying to get from them and how they got through it, and share that with entrepreneurs getting ready to start that journey.
It's awesome. So what made you start YoungCap?
So it's a funny story. It all came by accident because, well, I wouldn't say by accident, but it was one of those random thoughts where I was driving to football and to football practice. And at this point I had already known that, I had talent in football and had played at the top schools around the country in high school. And I loved football, and I still love football. But it just wasn't what I saw in my career wise. I think if I would have put my mind to it, I think it can go far, maybe, but I knew that my all wasn't into it. And because I always had a passion for business and that entrepreneurship, I had been surrounded by entrepreneurs virtually all my life, mainly looking up to one, my godfather. He was kicked out of high school, got his GED, started a financial advisory company, just built it all from scratch. And I think because I've been surrounded in that environment, I just always had that entrepreneur effect on me. And so I was in the car one day, and I was trying to figure out how I was going to start this business. I thought about starting a car detailing company, going and doing yard work for people, just everything you could possibly think about, just small side hustles, flipping, all of it. And I never really put my mind to one thing. That's one of my biggest, I would say biggest downsides is I have trouble sticking to one thing, and I always have so many ideas and I can't do them all. So I finally settled on that one idea, which was, I'm over here looking for, how do I start? Where do I start? I was like, I can't be the only young entrepreneur out here not knowing where to start, like having that idea and not knowing where to start. So it's that's when the idea hit me. I was like, you know what, I'm going to build the platform so that those younger entrepreneurs can find out where to start. And so that's what it was. And I saw it as a plus side, because, you know, it's not only am I building a company for myself and building a platform for myself, but my first priority was to give back to other entrepreneurs. And so that's essentially what I've been doing. And so that's how it kind of came to start.
All right. Well, what made you come up with the name YoungCap?
So I came up with YoungCap. It was about a week process of coming up with the name. I was originally going to start it with a good friend of mine, and we sat there and just trying to put words together, that a catchy name, and we came up with, we were like, oh, millennial mindset. And then we were like, can't use that, we're not millennials. And so we just, money mindset, and we sat there for about a week just going over names. And then my godfather, the one who helped me start this all, I went to him and he was like, well, what about YoungCap? And at first I didn't get it, because I was like, you know, I'm not a rapper. So, you know, and because Cap is to create the next generation of capitalists and young entrepreneurs, and our country is run on capitalism. So I think if we can bring that good capitalism back and destroy the thought of the rich get richer and that negative outlook on it, then, you know, we can have a great economic future. Because I mean, we are the future. And I think somebody, you know, you have your Gary Vaynerchuks and everybody else who like to talk to the young entrepreneurs. Meanwhile, they're 45, 50 years old, not in the same generation as us. Yeah. So, you know, us being, or me being in that Gen Z, it's like, you know, this is my generation coming up. So somebody, I felt like, you know, somebody's got to lead the way. And it's not just one person. It can't just be me. But that's essentially what I want to do. I want to build my tribe and start that movement of the young entrepreneurs and young capitalists in the future. I truly believe that it shouldn't be the top 1%. I want to expand that number. So yeah, that's the whole reason, I would say, that I came up with YoungCap, because it's short for young capitalists, and that's what we're building for the future.
That's cool. How long have you been doing YoungCap?
So I came up with the idea back in January, and I kind of floated around with it. I was like, you know, I had that week or two where I was like, oh, maybe not. And, you know, I'll bring the idea to my God, was already a successful capitalist and built a company. And I brought it to him and I said, hey, what do you think? You know, you've done it. What do you think about it? And he said, that's a golden idea. And the reason he said that was because what every entrepreneur looks for, and that's finding an idea where, you know, it's not, and there's two different types of entrepreneurs, I believe that there is. There's, you know, the ones that you're always looking to solve a problem and bring something to the market, or you can create something entirely new. Or a third one, I would say, it would be, you know, making the next Uber. You know, Uber wasn't the first. There were taxis, and, you know, Uber bettered it. There was Amazon was not the first Amazon. You can better a product, but, you know, for me, it was the reason I think it was a golden idea is because you had your Gary Vaynerchuks and like that. So it's a new niche for me. It's a new niche in general, and that's why I think I'm going to follow through with it. And that's pretty much why.
All right. So, you know, your whole business is about helping others get over like the first hurdles and stuff like that. So what are some obstacles that you had to overcome, or maybe you still are in?
So YoungCap's pretty new. It's like I said, it started back in January. Here we are in May. My website's been launched. The podcast has been up. I launched the first 3 podcasts. The biggest adversity that I've ran into was not a self-centered problem or because somebody was holding me back from something. Mainly the biggest, and I think that all younger entrepreneurs run into, was me reaching out to these CEOs and these higher up people saying, hey, would you like an interview? Can I interview you? And, you know, when you see a 17-year-old coming on, it's like, okay, this dude just wants to meet me. Like, I've sent emails out to Gary Vaynerchuk and everybody, Dana White, and just about everybody you can think of. But at the end of the day, you know, if I'm a CEO and a kid's reaching out to me, I'm like, okay, what does this kid want? You know, it's that young entrepreneur, you know, he's just a kid, you know, what is he doing? But I started to lose hope a little bit. I did over the past 3 weeks or so. And it was until my previous interview, Blake Wynn, who is also a young entrepreneur. He's a YouTube influencer, and now he started a sports marketing agency, which is transferred more over to a marketing agency in general. who I'm interning for now. And he said in that interview, and I just posted it on Instagram today, he said, the biggest challenge is not giving up. And he's going on, he's 21 years old, but he's going on his 11th tax season. And so he's been selling and flipping and nothing really held him back, because, he would go to these people and he would have the judgment of, he talked about it. He would have the judgment of how he looked, that he's young, and everybody making these comments on all his videos and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, the people he was working with, these NFL players, these athletes, they loved it. They loved that he was young. They knew that he was serious about it. And so it was really him who kickstarted that motivation back up and was like, you know what? Age is not an excuse. It's the ability to keep going, and nothing really happens overnight. I think there's one lucky every once in a while. But nothing happens overnight. And so it's a process of building up. And that's what I would say the adversity that I ran into is, being of my age, being that young and trying to reach out to these people who are highly, highly successful. And so, yeah, overall, not too much adversity or problems that I've run into so far. Besides that, that's been a major impact on it, and has affected the content that I've been able to put out. So, and now we're firing back. I've got some interviews set up in the next few weeks. I'm building the body of work at least to always stay ahead of the game in case somebody can't do an interview. I'm not affected by it. So right now it's building that body of work back up and recovering from that adversity period that I just went through. So, yeah.
That's cool. So since you just started, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Or like, where do you see YoungCap in 5 years?
Honestly, in 5 years, I see YoungCap highly successful. Not because anybody is the reason for that besides me, because at the end of the day, entrepreneurs are taking a risk. It's a financial risk. My godfather took a financial risk when he invested in me. It's all a risk, and the biggest thing is, like Blake said, is sticking with it. And 5 years down the line, I think it's going to be highly profitable. That's not my goal right now. My goal right now is to give. I follow the Gary Vaynerchuk, the jab, 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 right hook. It's, give everything you can back to people. And the more content you give them, the more you build that tribe. So, it's give. Hey, I wrote this book. Bam. So, hey, I can reach out to that tribe now that I've built. Hey, YoungCap merchandise is dropping. So it's all a process and a plan strategically. I think the way that I've planned it out and the help that I'm getting from people. And that's the other thing is, you can't be afraid to ask for help. The entrepreneurial journey gets pretty lonely at times. Most people introverts, but a lot of the successful ones didn't do it on their own. And so it's reaching out for that help. Hey, can you repost this? Hey, can you help me do this? And I think the way that I've strategized that, and it's just a constant learning curve. So 5 years down the line, I expect to be highly profitable. And my ultimate goal is to live financially free before 25. And I think that's extremely, extremely a realistic goal. And it can be for a lot of young entrepreneurs. It's just about who's willing to do it.
Yeah. So can you tell me a little bit more about like what steps do you take to reach out to somebody or like to get your stuff out there?
Yeah. So the process that I go through, it's a lot of cold emailing, cold calling. And like Blake, when I found like my first interview with Greg, he's my godfather. Obviously I was able to go to him directly. Hey, I'll be your first interview. Done. Bam. Mike Waters was my next one. I trained at his gym for, I don't know how long, not recently, but I went back to him. I said, hey, Mike, this is what I started. Bam. Another one done. Blake was the first one who I had no idea who he was. I didn't even put it together. His uncle Steve, owner of Wynn Resorts here in Las Vegas, followers on Instagram. And I was like, yeah, why not? So I emailed him. About the very next day, he got back to me. Sure, I'd love to do it. It's just about going out there and being able to reach out to those people and taking a chance on it. And so the process for me was, like I said, right now I'll literally sit on Instagram and type in #small business owners in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. And I'll go through and find these companies and small businesses in Las Vegas, call the place, say, hey, is he in? Or can I talk to the manager? I need to get in touch with this person. There's a big realtor that I'm about to have on here. I reached out to her personally. Went to the Instagram bio, found her email, sent her an email. Hey, this is what I'm doing. I'd love to have you on. And she got back to me. A lot of what I found is that a lot of these CEOs is I'm not asking them for money. I'm not asking them for, investment in anything. I'm asking them for them to help younger entrepreneurs. It's a way for them to give back, not financially, but of their time and knowledge. And so a lot have been happy to do it. And so I would say for anybody, like my process was starting with the people in my circle who I knew, who I knew would do it. And then once I put that content out there and it's like, hey, this is the real deal, I was able to go to other entrepreneurs who I don't know and say, look, this is who I've had on here. It's legit, and that's the process for me. It's a lot of cold. I've gotten no's, I've gotten yeses. That's how it goes. But yeah, that's pretty much my process. A lot of cold calling and a lot of cold emailing.
All right. So what are some things that you do differently?
Some things that YoungCap is so new that I can't say I would do a lot differently. Just because I've had the guidance so far and kind of I've had my hand held kind of through this whole process getting started by my godfather who started his from scratch. He's well experienced. I can't say that I've made a lot of wrongdoings other than I did slow down. I think I started to slow the roll a little bit and, shift focus. And it wasn't until, just a couple days ago, actually, that I was like, got to get back on it. I have the idea. I'm building this. I'm going to do it. Got to get back on it. And there's going to be moments like that. I think everybody building a business does. It's stressful, but there's also no excuse. So I would say for anybody that's going to be, an influencer or trying to start something, a podcast, even you with Convos as Randos, it's just to keep going. I think Gary Vaynerchuk talks about it all the time. And he says that, you could go and start a podcast tomorrow on Scooby-Doo and you're going to have that tribe of people that want to listen to a Scooby-Doo podcast. And that's all you really need. You need your tribe of people. And so it's not about what you're doing. It's to keep on going with what you're doing. So, yeah, that's the biggest. I haven't run into a lot of issues lately other than, self-cause. It was that, slowing down on the curve a little bit and instead of putting my foot to the gas and saying, you know what, I need to get this done. But we're back on it now. And yeah, that's about the only issues that I've ran into so far.
So what would you say to someone that's like trying to do the same kind of thing as you?
Get started. In 2 words summed up, get started and don't stop. There's a lot of 2-word phrases that I could use right now. It's get started, don't stop, and grind. Figure it out because, when I was starting, I had a job at Dutch Bros. I still have a job at Dutch Bros. I was going to school, 8 to 1 o'clock. I had, the sports at the time when I did start this. So there was just, my day was jam packed and there was, honestly, I would have never thought that I was going to be able to pull it off. At the end of the day, it's not about how much you're doing or how much you want to do. It's whether you're going to do it or not do it. It really comes down to 2 things. And so I chose to do it. And recently it's gone back to that, I'm not going to do it. Maybe I am. There is no maybe and it doesn't work. If you're going to do something, do it. If you're not, don't. I'd say if you're going to go down the road of what I've been doing, I say do it because it's only benefited me right now. With YoungCap, I've been able to reach out to several entrepreneurs. Like I said, Dana White, Blake Wynn, there's just so many connections that I'm making. My network's only growing. That I remember my godfather to anybody that he's successful entrepreneur will tell you is that it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And that's all I've been doing is growing my network so that I do have people like Dana White in my phone and Blake Wynn and, Floyd Mayweather and your Gary Vaynerchuks and the list is growing and it's only going to benefit me in the future. So I would say to anybody getting started, get started and don't wait.
Yeah. So it sounds like we're kind of doing similar things. Where I'm reaching out to people, trying to interview them, talk about their jobs, like what they do and kind of stuff, so that people coming up in the world, like they might watch my podcast and be like, dang, I really want to do that thing. And that's really the goal for Convos with Randos. One of the things is when someone says no, it kind of feels like getting rejected by a girl. Yeah. So yeah, I really appreciate what you're doing, man. It's really cool.
I appreciate it. And there's, in any way that I can help, that's what I've been here to do. I'm on the journey myself getting started. And I remember when I saw you getting started, it was like, hey, I was like, no way, that's Talon from elementary school. I was like, look at him go. Like I'm on the same thing. So, that's all I can say is that, even since I've been started since January, it's just to keep going. It's just like sports. It's just like anything. When you slow down, somebody's going to pass you up. My dad's told me since a while ago, I wanted to jump back into baseball in high school, but hadn't played since third grade. And, I may have been the best hitter on the team in third grade, but while I was taking that break, there were people working and working and working and working. So when I go back to high school and think that, I'm still going to be the best hitter on the team, that guy who was on the bench when I was in third grade is now starting in a 5-star because he stuck with it and kept working. It's no different in the business world. There's going to be, YoungCap could absolutely fail tomorrow, and it's going to be on to the next idea. It's all about not giving up. It's about putting in the work and just to keep going. If Convos with Randos isn't doesn't work out, maybe it's a podcast about God knows what. Maybe it's the next YoungCap. Reach out to other entrepreneurs, and maybe it's to connect them together. There's so many ideas that I have that just generate to where I'm just not going to give up. And I think people really need to, if you're going to step into the entrepreneur world, you have to be able to handle adversity. And there's going to be a lot of no's. It's like you said, getting rejected by a girl. It's that slap in the face of, wow, like that's what it feels like. But it's all about the bounce back and keep going and putting in the work and putting that foot to the gas and keeping on going.
So do you have any questions? Like do you have more to explain? Or
there is one I was asked the other day, and it was, what drives you to keep going? And that I actually had, I was very passionate about the question because it made me sit back. I was like, let me get back to you on that. And I think that would have been one of the things that kind of slowed my roll is when you're going to get started in something, if you're going to be successful, you need to be passionate about it. Nobody wants to work a 9-to-5. But if you're going to work a 9-to-5, you might as well do something you enjoy. If you're going to start a business, don't go and you're a football player, but you can't stand soccer. Maybe not go start a soccer podcast if you're not going to enjoy talking about it. And the thing is, like, what drives you? And I would listen to Gary Vaynerchuk, and he's like, gratitude. Gratitude drives me. And then I listen to somebody else, and they're like, family drives me. And I think all these successful people have something that drives them. And I think it's all about the passion. You have to find where your passion lies. And I knew that my passion was in business, and starting YoungCap was right up my alley. I'm talking to multiple business owners. I'm starting my own business. I'm surrounding myself with, you're the average of the 5 people that you hang around. If you go into your phone log right now, who are the last 5 people you called? If they're not people that you would look up to or are going to support you or anybody else, that's on you. And I've really started to pay attention to that and surround myself with those people. I'm interning right now for Blake Wynn because Blake is 21 years old and the kid wants to run for, not really a kid, he's an adult, but he's 21 years old and he wants to run for governor. He knows what he's doing. He has a plan. The work environment in that place it was day 2 today for me, and it's incredible. Just surrounding myself with other hardworking people who are on the same goals. If you're in high school and you're hanging out with people who party every single weekend and you're wondering why your company's not going where it needs to be, check your circle. And I think that's what it comes down to. And back leading on to that passion thing, my passion is business, and I want to be successful, and I want other people to be successful. So I surround myself with successful people. And that was why I was really passionate about that that question is because it really made me think. And it's something I should have thought about before I even started, because you really need to find, I got lucky, but you need to find your passion in whatever it is you're going to do. Because if you're not going to have fun with it, you're not going to be successful because you're never going to put your all into it.
So this might be a kind of a sensitive question to some people, but like, what made you choose like capitalism over trying to start some like socialism thing?
So, and it's funny because when I was starting this, that was one of my biggest worries. I was like, I don't want this to get too political beside the idea of YoungCap, because it's not meant to be political. But at the end of the day, I think everything in this world in some form or fashion falls back on something political. Nobody's going to agree. But that's the thing about starting something and building that tribe. There's a book I'm reading right now called Tribes by Seth Godin. Really, really good book. And he talks about it. You're not going to be able to please everybody. You can't be a people pleaser. It's just not going to happen. And I come from a very Republican family, but I would say that that wasn't even the start of it. My family's always taught me to think for myself. They weren't going to sway me in one way or the other. They told me to look at both sides, watch the news on both sides. And YoungCap wasn't even started out of politics. But there's one thing that I've noticed in this world by living in it, and that is the world is run on capitalism. Everybody who holds an iPhone, everybody who owns a TV in their house, a microwave, somebody invented that and somebody's selling that product to you. When you go and buy that, somebody's making money off of it. It's capitalism. Everything, in this world is run on capitalism. The U.S. is the strongest of it. And that's just what it is. It's either, you can sit back and complain about, he has this, he's getting richer, the rich get richer, and, or you can adapt to the environment that we live in, because capitalism is not going away anytime soon. So long as we have Elon Musk in this world and the next Elon Musk, capitalism is not going away, because people are constantly improving on products and selling products. And it's constantly a money system. And the goal of YoungCap is to bring good capitalism, because I think capitalism itself has a negative political impact because of that negative look on it, that the rich get richer. That's all it is. The rich need to pay more in taxes because they make money, and the poor don't. It's not that the poor can't. There's many stories of, homeless people going to the NFL because they worked and worked. My godfather, he's the prime example of, building something from the ground up. It's not about whether you can or can't. It's those who are willing to do it. And I think that if YoungCap can inspire those younger entrepreneurs to do it, then capitalism is going to have a good outlook in the future, especially with our generation. And I think our generation could be the one to change that negative outlook on capitalism. And essentially, it's to bring our country together. If we can destroy that bad capitalism and start looking at it as a good thing, and it not being the top 1%, top 10%, top 15, until the next generation of YoungCap is thinking the process. So I think that that is my ultimate goal here with YoungCap, is to not necessarily be a political, socialism isn't welcome, or, this, that, and the other. It's to bring it together at the end of the day. It's to get rid of the negative outlook on capitalism, because we need capitalism. We need it. So long as you want that PS5 and that next iPhone and, that new Ferrari coming out, capitalists build that. And that's all it is. So it's never going away. I think we constantly there's new Einsteins, new Elon Musk coming out. It's all a waiting game, but that's the point behind YoungCap. And that's why I chose to go with the capitalism, is because I'm not going to please everybody, but I think everybody can appreciate the message and the goal of it.
So if someone's trying to look for you, where can they find you?
All of my socials are on my newly launched website, www.youngcap.net. You can find the TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, everything you can imagine on the website. In the About page, you can go check out the 3 interviews that are up at the moment. They're really good. I would tune into them. They're really smart people. And the thing about YoungCap is these entrepreneurs are coming on here to talk to younger entrepreneurs, and they break down terms. It's not like you're going on there and they're talking about, CFIs and everything else, the words that I can't understand. They break it down for younger entrepreneurs, and they really guide the way and teach. And YoungCap has started off doing what it was supposed to do. So I would go check out that website, www.youngcap.net. Other than that, I would follow the socials, tune into the YouTube, and yeah.
And so as we're closing out this podcast, is there anything you'd like to promote?
Yeah, like I said, the website just launched. There's a lot coming. One of the things that big projects we're working on right now that's newly launched to the website is what's called Cap Grants, and it's those looking to do kind of what you're doing and starting up a business or a podcast, or they want to do something that's going to benefit the economy in some way in the future. And if their goal is to become financially free, YoungCap wants to help with that, and we're going to be doing quarterly scholarships throughout the year. And so you can go in, fill out that Cap Grant, apply. It's a voting system, so you need to bring your friends to the website, get them to vote for you. And then we're going to draw that winner, and you can win that scholarship to help you get started or fund whatever it is that you need to get, whether it's the next camera or video lights or whatever it may be. There's a lot that YoungCap has to offer that's up and coming. I would tune into the website, follow the socials. Again, www.youngcap.net. There's some big plans coming and a lot coming to that website. So If anything, I do want to promote that, and I hope everybody goes and tunes in, because these CEOs are out here to help you, and I'm out here to help you and give you that content.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I had a blast, and I'll make sure we're in contact soon.
Sounds
Thank you.
Bye.
If you liked today's episode, please make sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms at Convos Randos, and leave a comment or whatever you can, because we want to know how we can improve. Also, I'm excited to announce that we just started a Patreon account where you can listen to our podcast as well, and as of now, you can join for free. You can find us at convoswithrandos@patreon.com. Email us at convoswrandos@gmail.com to be featured on our next episode, because we want to hear your story. Thank you for listening to Convos with Randos. That's all we have for you today. Peace.